I'm a female and was 4 years old when this happened. My sister had just turned 16 then, and she was so excited to finally be able to use her license. It was one of the first times my sister would get to pick me up from my babysitter, which means it would be one of the first times she'd been allowed to drive with me alone. Almost as soon as we pulled onto the main road, a white pickup truck swerved behind us. Weird, but whatever. After a few turns, my sister noticed that the truck still followed her. Even when she would just switch lanes, he was right there switching behind her. My sister, being a bit of a paranoid person, tested it a little and switched lanes several times. She said she heard his tires squealing by his quick cuts to get behind her again. She told me not to worry, and I remember being an oblivious little kid. She looked scared, but I had no concerns. The man started to get really angry. I don't remember anything about what he looked like. I do remember that he had this look of pure hate on his face. It's strange that you can sometimes remember expressions, but not the faces they were on. He was honking the horn repeatedly, just laying on it, and he was very close to our car. He was swerving back and forth, trying to get our attention. He would pull up beside us occasionally, flip us off, and honk. The first big event came about when we pulled up at a four-way stoplight. It's a bigger one, so there was a lot of room in the intersection. We were the first ones at the stoplight in our lane, and nobody was beside us. The man used this lane to pass us and pull his car in front of us, almost in the intersection. He was blocking us. I so vividly remember that white pickup truck. He got out of it and started storming towards our car. He was screaming so hard I remember thinking his face almost looked purple. Neither one of us remembers what he was saying, but he pulled up his shirt to reveal to us that he had a gun. He pointed to it and at us, threatening us and closing the gap between us. My sister put her hand over my body, told me to close my eyes, and floored it through the intersection. She said she was worried we were either going to hit him or get hit in the intersection, but it was a better chance than sitting there and waiting for the psycho with a gun. He hopped back into his car and followed us. My house was closer to where we were than my sister's, so for some reason she decided to go to my empty house. Obviously, he followed us and blocked us into the driveway. He got out and walked towards my sister's parked car, pulling his gun out. Once again, she had to think fast and swerve her way across our lawn back out on the road. This is before cell phones, and she had just started driving and was still young. She had no idea what to do. He followed us back onto our neighborhood road, pulling up next to our car and hitting his truck against us, trying to make us skid or wreck. There is a small area of grass between my neighborhood road and a major busy road, and it was obvious he was trying to push our car hard enough to send us into the traffic beside us. He had his gun up on his dashboard still, all within reach. I remember him doing that little gesture where you drag your finger along your throat, like you're slitting it, like he was going to kill us. His face was still purple. There was a gas station nearby, and my sister decided on the last thing she could think of. I remember her talking to me so seriously and sternly. She told me she needed me to be a big girl and, the second we pulled by the door of the gas station, to undo my seatbelt and jump out. She told me to run inside so fast that I shouldn't even worry about closing my door. I was to run inside and go directly to the person behind the counter and tell them to call 911 because a bad man was following us. We pulled in, she threw the car in park, and I jumped out and did as I was told. She was only a few seconds behind, but she had to actually stop the car. She closed her door and mine for me and just ran inside with me. The man came into the parking lot behind us, and when we were inside, he went through my sister's car. By the time the police arrived, he was gone. They never found him, and we never knew what provoked him or what his plan was. The only thing he took from the car was my sister's ID and the cash she had on her. I was driving a shortcut from 29 Palms, California to Albuquerque, New Mexico. 29 Palms is located in the desolate high desert east of LA. The shortcut was all two-lane road through total nothingness except for passing through Amboy, California. Amboy is a nearly abandoned town nearly as far below sea level as Death Valley, with a dormant volcano and lava field on one side and a salt flat on the other. It was also, at the time, a hotspot for satanic group activity. I was driving by myself in the afternoon. I stopped in Amboy and snapped a picture of the city sign just to prove I was there to friends who dared me to take that route to I-40. I got back in my car and proceeded to drive up into the mountain range between Amboy and I-40. Once I reached the top, I am driving north through a canyon with high grass on both sides of the road. Up ahead, I see some stuff in the middle of the road. As I approach, I slow down to see a red Pontiac Fiero stopped sideways across both lanes and a suitcase open with clothes scattered everywhere. There were two bodies laying face down in the road, a man and a woman. I stop 100 feet or so away, and the hair on the back of my neck is standing up. Being a Marine, I reach under the seat and pull out a 9mm pistol and chamber a round. Something seemed very wrong. It looked too perfect, as if it was staged. An ambush? Was I being paranoid? Something was just wrong. Getting out of the car seemed unthinkable, like a horror movie move. As I scanned the road, I saw a line I could drive. I would pass the guy in the road on his left, swerve to the right side of the woman, then behind the Fiero, and I'd be on the other side. I dropped it into first gear, punched it, and drove the line I planned. I passed the back of the Fiero without hitting it or either of the bodies in the road. I continued forward a couple 100 feet and slowed down so I could breathe and let my heart slow down. As I looked up into the rearview mirror, I saw that the two bodies had gotten up to their knees, and 20 or so people emerged from the tall grass on either side of the road by the car and bodies. At that moment, my right foot smashed the gas pedal to the floor and did not let up until I had to slow down for the I-40 east on-ramp. I will never know what would have happened to me had I gotten out of the car to check on the bodies or stopped my car closer to them. Somehow, I do not think it would have been good. Sometimes, real life can be scarier than a movie. My brother and I were driving through Montana in the middle of the night. We got held up near Bozeman because a semi had taken out a passenger van with 6 or 7 people in it. We only have that estimation because we both sat mute while we watched parts being taken out of the van. It just so happened the accident was a few minutes old when we got to it. A truck driving the opposite direction flashed us with an alarming "slow down now" frequency, and we did. The driver of the semi was physically fine, and the cops who would interview him parked on the shoulder next to us. We could hear him as he wailed, sobbed, and apologized. We were watching the EMT crew pull a head detached from a body and part of an arm, while the driver started begging the cops for forgiveness. We sat there for 5 hours. Then, we got out to smoke after a while and had a chat with the cops. They explained that it was in no way the semi-driver's fault. It's on my top 5 things I would like to forget. The image of arms and legs and other bits all over the place. I was driving through the snow-covered expanse of Montana on McDonald Pass, minding my own business behind a grey Toyota Tundra. The dude was speeding and handling the icy road like a seasoned pro, but he must have been unfamiliar with how steep the final few miles were. Feeling like a responsible driver, I decided to ease off the gas and stay at 35, letting the Tundra drift ahead. It was all cool until, not even 5 minutes later, I stumbled upon a sight that sent shivers down my spine. I passed his tire marks etched in the fresh snow, leading off the side of the mountain. So I pulled over, my curiosity mixed with a growing sense of dread. Peering over the edge, I discovered the grey Toyota was now a twisted, upside-down inferno about 300 yards down the slope. I quickly dialed 911, heart pounding as I reported the accident. The operator assured me help was on the way. I waited there in the eerie silence of the snowy night, staring at the fire and smoke from the burning truck. The flames flickered against the white landscape like some hellish dance. I wanted to help the person right away, but I was afraid that the vehicle might blow up, I also thought it might be dangerous without the proper equipment and training to descend there. After what felt like an eternity, the distant wails of sirens broke through the quiet. The firemen and rescue team arrived, and they managed to pull the driver from the wreckage. The guy was alive, but he suffered terrible burns. Once, a friend and I were driving on an old dirt road way out in the sticks in South Alabama. We're past an old 19th century cemetery when out of nowhere a truck starts tailgating us. This was really late at night, and even in the daytime it would have been rare to see a vehicle, so we were a little creeped out. I speed up, and the truck stays right on my bumper. I'm now driving as fast as I can without flying off the road on this small, windy dirt road, and still can't shake the truck. My buddy who was with me knew the area well and said that we were about to hit a paved road T-bone intersection and that there was also another small dirt road coming off at a sharp angle from that intersection. He said that if I could get ahead just enough to get out of immediate sight of the truck, I could cut the wheel hard to the left and whip into the spur road and hopefully ditch the truck. I did what he said, but right when I start the turn at the T-bone, I see what looks like an incredibly tall person. They were just inside the tree line across the paved road, covered head to toe in long hair. As I'm turning, I shout, "Holy crap, do you see that?" And before I can finish, my friend says, "Yes." He sees the big hairy guy too. I finish the turn, we ditch the truck, and got the hell out of there. But to this day, we really don't know what we saw. Your support means a lot to me. Please drop a like and subscribe to Eerie Echoes for more horror stories. As always, thank you for watching.